Hey, what's up, guys? This is Elias. I'm on chess.com right now, and I'm actually checking out a game I just played a minute ago. And these guys seem to be obviously lower players, and you can definitely tell the difference. It just happens to work out. Their tactics aren't advanced. They're not as well versed in how the game is played. And I'm white this time, and I'm gonna open up with the Queen's Pawn opening, and it's a little opening that I've been using with a lot of success. More often than not. So, kind of going over the game, there's the pawn thrust for the queen's pawn opening. He's going to counter me in the center, and this is usually the formula of how it's played. I deviated from my standard formula just because, um, you know, I just wanted to change it up, kind of see how it is, and for whatever reason, I feel like a little bit more skittish or like not as confident in my playing, which is kind of weird, but I think it's just like one of those funk kind of things, you know. So to play on, I'm going to go ahead and take in the center. When I take in the center, I'm going to come up on an easy knight, and already up one knight and two pieces of material, so a pawn and a knight. He's going to start developing more in the center, but if you notice here, he's totally broken up in the center, which is not a good position to be in, so I assume that he's going to castle fairly soon. He goes for a blocking motion with the light squared bishop, and I'm going to continue to develop this normal. I'm going to fianchetto my bishop, and this is my personal variation. I always have to fianchetto the bishop in any of my strategies because having that ability is super helpful, and it's like if you've watched any of my previous videos, it is like the backbone of my playing style. There's certain times where I'll hold the fianchetto, but I'm at least going to get one fianchetto bishop up there. So let's continue to play the game. He's completely open to attack. He can move back after the smart castle that he just did, but he can choose to move back with his light squared bishop. Let's see if he goes for it. He continues to advance. Extremely aggressive player, but not very well versed. The only thing he would really have going on there, why he wouldn't move it, is because he could potentially take with the pawn to open up this file, which is the F file, and so he can continuously apply pressure on my king side, on the F2 square, which is the king's, like that's the weak point, and then on vice versa for black. So as I continue, I'm going to go ahead and take. Unfortunately, you can see that lack of experience there because instead of taking and opening up this file and continuously applying pressure, he would already be one step closer to breaking that line and getting me into a really tough position. And his queen is already out. He just hasn't quite activated it fully yet, but now he's moving into it. And this is what you see a lot with newer players too. I anticipate this is my weak point, and that's where he's going to strike because obviously he's lined up. This is not a defensive move. It is an offensive move. So what I will do from this point is continue to prepare. So I'll do that. I'll throw my pawn up there on E3, guarding the center. I'm also worried about this pawn here because now he has the white diagonal on C2, which is another weak point. So what I could possibly do just to bait him out, which I will do later on, is throw my queenside knight up and try to get him to take, which I believe he did. So he's going to start centralizing his rook, very smart move, and he's applying pressure here on the F2 square. So as we continue, I'm going to try to bleed some of his energy off. If he wanted to be really nasty at a certain point, continuously eyeing down there and then continue the pressure there, don't give him the opportunity to do that. And what he could do is line up a strike basically on all the dark diagonals. His queen obviously isn't lined up for it, but he has the necessary pieces with the centralized rooks being on his side, and then he could also come down here with the double coverage of the rook and the queen, and then try to hammer this dark diagonal home. So I'm going to go ahead and castle because I think it's one of those moments. That's why I hold it in reserve, is just so I can kind of throw off the game or alleviate the pressure. So that's when he goes for that dark diagonal. Really smart move. But I'm gonna bet him. I'm basically gonna say, well, you're not backed up by anything once you take off, and then take or exchange my piece. So I'll take it and then have to move back down. But I'd move down to B1 because the second I do that, he is going to come up here and try to put me in check. If I move down to B2 or B1, I'm sorry, then he's going to try to slam over to A1. So if I move back into the C1 position, it's not going to work out in my favor because he's going to pretty much get a checkmate at that point. It's nowhere I can really move. I'm trapped on my king or my queen and my rook. So let's continue. So he pushes me back out, and then I drop here. So it's like a 3-step phase that I just went into. So or a 2-step phase so far. So I threaten the rook. He's not willing to take it. Obviously throws up the pawn out there because he's well within his reason to do that. Then he goes ahead and lines up because then I threaten his queen. Once he does that, he's lining up for a really dangerous diagonal on that dark diagonal. So I'm going to go ahead and push up because I have double coverage here between my dark squared bishop and then my queen. And then he's going to have to break this formation in order to do anything about it. So as this continues, he's going to start moving up because he's going to be trying to prepare if things went his way to come down here. But I counter him and then continue to apply the pressure, like make a move. You got to make a move. So I throw my pawn up here, threatening his dark squared bishop. He goes ahead and takes, which is not a smart move, but I'm going to go ahead and retake. He can't just swoop in and take. He could potentially pin me here, but I'm well aware of that. So what I'm going to try to do now is basically bleed him in the E file or in the center. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm also going to bolster my defense here on G3, so he just can't swoop in and take this. He's obviously lining up for an attack to line up his rooks or connect the rooks. So that's where I kind of bolster my defense there. Something I thought about that I could have done was make a pawn advance to F5, from F4 to F5 to apply pressure on that rook. He could easily sidestep that, but then also block the diagonal that the queen is on. He could do the same thing here and then drop this pawn, his pawn right here, to D4, and that would apply a lot of pressure here. I think I would end up having to take, but I don't think I'd be sitting too hard. But once he started moving up, then he could slide over and create something out of that or make another attack. So instead of making the pawn push, I'm going to go ahead and centralize my rook, obviously baiting an attack, does it, takes the bait, does it again, boom. With all those exchanges, I didn't think that this guy was playing at a level to where he would be super dangerous. So I'm going to go ahead and open up with this dark squared bishop on his queen, because so much has taken place so quickly with all those exchanges. He's not really paying attention, and I think I lulled him into a false sense of security. So I open up, I'm eyeing down on his queen, and I was hoping that he would take here, or at least put him in a difficult position, even if he did see it. But he's pretty limited in his moves because, yeah, I think he definitely had to retreat. So as we go on, he takes, I take his queen, and that's the end of the game. You know, think about it, speculate, and then from this point on, I guess just kind of give me your feedback if you liked it or not, and then we'll kind of go from there. This is a low-level game, so keep that in mind. I'm not touting the idea that I'm friggin' amazing because I beat a low-level player. But yeah, in this position, I'm one move away from checkmate. All right, well, with that being said, I will leave you with that. All right, take it easy, guys. Bye.